Visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
Back and forth, Willow Smith. We know that is a tease for a story that we have coming later regarding Tyler Perry. He is addressing your concerns about the wigs and the hairstyles in his TV and films. He has an answer. He also believes he has a solution. So we're going to share that with you and see what you think about that. We're going to get into the details. I don't know if you saw this. It's a thing that has been on TikTok for a while now. It's called the One Chip Challenge. And they actually, put the chips out. There's these spicy, super hot tortilla chips. And, the challenge was to see if you could take it, if you could take the heat. Well, those are now being pulled from shelves. We'll get into the details of that and what's going on with all of that. But before we get into those stories, there's been a lot of media drama this week. And, maybe people are just bored, free time. Or, they're like, hey, everybody's on strike, no new shows. So, well, there's a few new shows. I shouldn't say no. But they're slipping out the leaks. So there was a Rolling Stone article that dropped. And it talked about the drama at The Tonight Show and regarding Jimmy Fallon. It said that their boss, whose name is Jamie Granite, bullied the staff constantly, and that Jimmy was a part of this bullying. That this Jamie person asked one black employee, "What is going on with your hair?" She would bully the staff about their food. "We're just going to eat a lot today and not care what we look like." These are the comments that they said that they were subjected to. Supposedly, Jimmy got in on this type of behavior. They said that he scolded a crew member during a taping that included Jerry Seinfeld, and that it was so bad and so uncomfortable that Seinfeld told Fallon to apologize. And they said that he often critiqued his employees with words like, lame, and what are you doing? And yeah, you've really outdone yourself with this one. So 16 former employees described the atmosphere as glum. They said they were belittled, intimidated, and that they were afraid of Jimmy's outbursts and his erratic behavior. So following this investigation, Jimmy Fallon and the show's showrunner, a gentleman named Chris Miller, addressed their employees on a Zoom call, which, of course, what happened? The details were leaked. And it reportedly said that Rolling Stone spoke with at least 2 current and 14 former staffers that collaborated Jimmy's behavior, and that they said that the ever-changing leadership at the show fostered an unhealthy work environment, and that some employees said that their mental health was so impacted by their alleged experiences that they made complaints to HR. So, 2 employees that were on the Zoom call today said that Fallon apologized and said he did not intend to create that type of atmosphere for his show. He said that he is embarrassed and that he felt really badly. And he also extended apologies to all of his employees, stating that if I embarrassed you and your family and friends, I feel terrible. I can't even tell you. So according to these employees, they said that the talk show host's message felt pretty legit, pretty genuine in his response, and that he acknowledged the amount of turnover, and that the current showrunner is a great leader, isn't going anyplace, and that he wants the show to be fun and inclusive to everyone. So I just wonder, is it just the fact that he's a comedian and maybe the jokes didn't land well with the staff? Like, because he comes from a background of Saturday Night Live and movies, was it that? I mean, nothing to be said about the showrunner that's no longer there that made questions about hair and weight. But I do wonder how much things like that have a part and a role in this. If it is a comedy show, a live thing, there's improv that's involved. Is that keeping with the theme, or is it, bullying, like they say? So I guess we'll see if there are changes behind the scenes, but otherwise, Jimmy has apologized. He said he's sorry, and we're going to move on. Before I move on, though, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Coco Gauff later in the hour, but just have to shout her out. She won her semifinals match earlier tonight after, well, we should just talk about this now. There was a delay that happened during the match. I don't know if you saw, but there were some climate protesters, and one of them glued themselves to the ground. They glued their bare feet to the concrete and the cement at the U.S. Open between Coco Gauff and Carolina Muchkova, I believe is how you pronounce her last name. And it caused a 50-minute delay in the match. Gauff was leading at the time, 6-4, and she was 1-0 in the current game when the play was interrupted. So the fans were chanting, kick them out, kick them out, kick them out. At 19 years old, Gauff is the youngest woman to advance to the finals at the U.S. Open since Serena Williams did it. She's indicated that one of the regrets of her career is that she didn't get to face off against Serena in one of these situations, because obviously she looks up to her and she feels she could learn so much. But when she was asked about pressure, and I really like this answer, and I really like how Coco handles her media question sessions and her responses to the press. She's very even-keeled, very thoughtful in her answers. So the question was about pressure, and she said, I'm privileged. I get to play a game that I love. There are people that can't feed their children, don't know how they're going to pay rent. So to say that this is pressure is, not that there isn't pressure to it, but you can't call it pressure. She said, I'm having fun. I'm living my dream. There are millions of people that would want to be in the same place that I am. So there is no pressure as far as when you think about the reality and the real pressures of life. So much respect to Coco. Shout out to her. We appreciate her. When we come forward, we will get into the chip challenge and what is going on with that. We'll also have details of Danny Matherson's sentencing. Danny played Hyde on that 70s show. And of course, Tyler and those wigs. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Dominique DePrima. We can all fall into the trap of mindlessly spending sometimes. I know I do it. But one tip for staying on track is when you have an impromptu purchase that comes up, try making a habit of taking a quick look at your bank account balance before you buy it. It's not just about seeing how much you have in your checking account. Just looking at your account might put the urge to make that impulse purchase into perspective and help you make better choices that'll benefit you for the long term. Whatever your financial goals, U.S. Bank Access Commitment Initiatives can help support you in reaching them. Access your financial goals at usbank.com/access. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right.
Y'all gotta try that for Bree's car.
Just right, just right, just right. Yeah. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistency, all over Bree's car clips right on your vent. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face when it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah. Breathe happy for Breeze. La 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 la.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for education as a right, not a privilege. Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science is a private, non-profit, community-founded, student-centered university committed to cultivating diverse health profession leaders who are dedicated to social justice and health equity for underserved populations. CDU does this through outstanding education, clinical service, and community engagement. Recently, Charles Drew University made history by opening only the 5th medical school at an historically black university. Congratulations, South LA. Congratulations to the Dean of the medical school, Dr. Deborah Protho-Stith. CDU is now training doctors and providing $90 million in annual economic benefit to Watts and surrounding neighborhoods. To apply for medical school, get more information, or sign your child up for the Junior Doctors Saturday School program, visit cdrewu.edu. That's cdrewu.edu. At KBLA, we are dedicated to equity in education and ending healthcare apartheid, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Hey, keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Now, I mentioned the chip challenge. So if you have a TikTok, you've seen this. Of course, there's tons of challenges that run across TikTok there. The dance challenge. We had the cinnamon challenge a while back, and we had the one chip challenge. So the makers of the spicy tortilla chip, they pulled the product after the family of a Massachusetts teenager blamed his death on the chip. His name was Harris Wubla, and he passed away last Friday, and they are waiting for the results of his autopsy, but the 14-year-old family blames the challenge. Since his death, the Texas-based manufacturer Packy has asked retailers to stop selling the individually wrapped chips, and 7-Eleven has already done that. The one chip challenge is one chip, literally, sells for $10. It comes wrapped in a sealed foil pouch, and it's the box that it comes in looks like a coffin. It's cardboard, and it warns that the chip has the pleasure of intense heat and pain. It's intended for adults and should be kept out of the reach of children. But they say that they've seen an increase, an uptick in both teens and individuals not paying attention to the warnings. And as a result, the product, which does adhere to food safety standards, is still being removed from shelves by the manufacturer. They said out of an abundance of caution. They said they are actively working to make sure that it is off all of shelves. Authorities in Massachusetts have responded to the death by warning parents about the challenge. And they said that, people have shown themselves unwrapping it, eating the chips, eating it with ice cream. There are, what are those things called that are included in spicy foods? I'm blanking on the name right now. What is it called? The chemical. And it's also a chemical that is capsaicin, capsaicin, CAPSACIN. So it is a chemical ingredient that is included in some spices, and it's also used in things like pepper spray. It's a very, very strong chemical, and some people have, symptoms like just abdominal pain and nausea, vomiting, but in others, in a very small percentage, and if you eat a high concentration of it, can cause death. So it's being investigated. But I guess the thing that I wonder is, how do you keep your kids from tapping into stuff like that? It's so hard. Like, you cannot be with them at any given moment. It's a chip. It's a food product, I
think I think retailers, or at least maybe the company, should have a age limit, kind of like cigarettes or alcohol or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? If you're a teller or if you're a cashier and you see somebody who's young, ask for the person's ID before you sell that chip to the person.
So 18 and over?
21 and over.
Oh, 21. Oh, so make it like, the same age that you can drink with.
Absolutely.
That's what you got to utilize to buy the spice.
Absolutely. I mean, 21 years old, you have just maybe a little bit more responsibility than someone who's 18 or younger.
But here's the argument. The flip side of that is 18-year-olds can vote. They can vote who represents us. They can go to the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines.
I'm old enough
They
to go
can
to war,
serve for our country.
but I ain't old enough to drink.
You know?
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I don't know.
I'm with you.
I do think that, 'cause that one, obviously, like you said, you can put in an age restriction on it. But just in general, these challenges pop up with all types of things. Like, what was it, the Tide Pod Challenge? That was a year or two back or something.
The crate challenge.
The crate challenge, where it's like, fool, you want to run up some crates? I mean, I get it, bored, but really? Broken, bones and extremities, scratches, that sounds like a good time. Does not sound fun to me.
When you're young, you feel
You
invincible.
do stuff.
You feel invincible. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I did as a kid that at my age now, I wouldn't even think twice to do it. So
I remember I used to climb up on the roof of my house just because I was
Same
probably
here.
about like 6 or 7. Like, what are you going up there for?
did you jump over the next roof?
No, I wasn't doing that. Like,
Okay.
there was a brick wall and I would have to go across the thing. I remember one time I was climbing up it and I slipped and fell into my neighbor's backyard and hit my nose on the base of their tree. It was all messed up. My parents were like, "What are you doing? Get up." But I don't know. Prayers go out to the family in Massachusetts. It's not much to say to something like that. You hope that it wasn't the chip, but then, 14 is so young. So whatever the circumstances are, they are without their child. So I wish them peace in that journey.
Did they mention how the child passed away?
That's why they're doing the autopsy,
Got it,
because
okay.
they aren't sure. They believe that it was from, the capsun. I'm probably jacking that up. But that particular agent that comes in the chip, and that he had some type of adverse reaction to it. But they aren't sure. So they will get the autopsy results back soon, and we'll either see more suit or, a family without their child. So, Tyler Perry, we know that one of the fun things that goes along if you're into Tyler's programming is commenting about the hairstyles. How long were people talking about Shamar Moore's cornrow wig from that one film that he was in? If you saw, what was the movie Ashtray? Not Amazing Grace. Say the movie about Grace that he had a couple years ago, where the wig was just moving all the way around. So it's Tyler Perry moves very fast. We know he writes all of his own stuff. He has no writing staff. If you've ever heard any of the actors that have participated in any of his projects discuss his shooting schedule, you aren't going to get a lot of time with the material. You're not going to get to do 2 or 3 takes. You're doing 1 or 2 takes, and then they're moving on to the next scene. He moves fast. He can film a whole season of a show in 2 weeks, which is unheard of. So with that, it means that your makeup artist, your stylist, and your hairstylist are under added pressure because they have to work faster. They have to get in and get it done. And, we want the continuity to match up. That's not always the case in some of Tyler's films, but that's what we're looking for. These are the things that go into that job. So Tyler addressed the situation, and he wants y'all to keep cool, and he wants you basically to understand that you are worrying about the wrong things.
I want all of y'all to stop talking about hair to me, please. Just, I swear to you, these are things I can do. I can run a company, I can build a house, I can go on stage, I can do all of this stuff, right? I know what I do. I don't know how to do hair. I don't know nothing about it. So what I do is I hire people to do hair. Pay them $65 an hour. You heard that right. $65 an hour. They work 10 to 12 hours a day. You heard that right. $65 an hour is what they're paid to make sure the hair is right. Okay? That's their job. So I'm paying them to do their job, and they're doing it, right? They're doing a great job. Sometimes things slip because I'm moving a little fast, but they get it done. They get it done. So stop asking me about no damn hair. You'll talk to somebody else who got a hot curly.
So,
Like I'm walking around with a damn hot curler.
listen, I feel him. I get it. You're a director, writer, producer, and star in a lot of these instances. That means you're wearing a lot of hats, right? However, if you're hiring someone to do a job, you ought to want to make sure that the job is done efficiently, right? Efficiently. And if you're getting feedback like, hey, that's not cool, maybe you got to clock in. I have heard that there have been some improvements, that he has found a better caliber of stylist to work with that can work under the demands that he puts everyone in his productions under. But I feel like hair shouldn't be that hard to fix. Sometimes I wonder if it wasn't like a device tactic too, because, something to get people talking about some of the films. Not saying that Tyler necessarily needs that, but it just seems like it was purposely done, because you see that. Maybe you didn't know it first, but 3 or 4 films and TV shows down the line, you see that, Tyler. Come on. You know that's not right. You know it. So hopefully, that will be better. Some people were very excited, obviously, in the audience about the pay rate. What I will let you know is that is about $2 above scale. So scale for a hairstylist on set work, I guess, is normally about around $63. So he's paying a little above scale. So there you go. If you got skills, maybe send your work into Tyler, and you can see your work on the next Tyler Perry feature, Tyler Perry Presents. And, you got that, what is it called? Bold Hold, the hairspray that they lock it down with. You guys could hook it up. At any rate, speaking of, we've been talking a lot about, TV and film stuff, because that's what we do here: entertainment, sports, lifestyle, and culture. But this story is one that is kind of about 20 years in the making, and you've heard rumblings about it over the years, and now we've come down to the wire. So this Thursday, Danny Matheson, he starred as Stephen Hyde on that 70s show. He was sentenced to 30 years to life in prison for the rape of 2 women back in 2003 and 2002 at his Hollywood Hills home. He's 47. This was the second time that this case had been tried. He did not speak or take the stand in either trial. The judge, though, her name is Charlene Olmedo, and she was very, very poignant in her remarks to him. She said, "Mr. Masterson, I know that you're sitting here steadfast in your claims of innocence, and thus no doubt feeling victimized by a justice system that has failed you. But you are not the victim here." And she wanted to very much let him know that she felt, it is her belief, that there was no question of his guilt and that he deserved the strictest sentence that she could put down. And that's what he received. So he was convicted on 2 of the 3 accounts that he was facing at this retrial. And 3 women identified as Jane Doe 1, Jane Doe 2, and Jane Doe 3 spoke at the sentencing hearing today. And they also were very, very, very direct in their comments. One said, "You raped me, you stole from me. That's what rape is, a theft of the spirit. You are pathetic, disturbed, and completely violent. The world is better off with you in prison." So, he's going to jail. He is married to actress and model Bijou Phillips. She did not speak following the case. She left the courtroom as well. He, meaning Danny, was represented, one of his lawyers, Sean Hawley, who we know dating back to the O.J. Simpson trial. She worked closely with Johnny Cochran. She was one of his lawyers. She, I believe, released a statement on his behalf, but, for now, he will be in prison, and sending love and support out to the victims. And I hope that they are at peace now and can find some sort of, solace in that he is in jail and probably will be there for the rest of his natural life. Now, I mentioned this story last night and I realized I didn't get to it, so I am circling back to it tonight. K. Michelle. You know K. Michelle of Love and Hip Hop fame. She's a singer. She has been very, very open about her plastic surgery. She has been open about the path that she has taken to heal her body from that journey. She had black market butt injections, butt shots. And they ended up traveling throughout her body into her legs, and it caused her to have some severe health concerns. She had them removed in 2018, and since then, she's given fans updates on her journey. She had a show where she chronicled other bad plastic surgery and tried to get help for these women that had experienced that. So she had a recent interview with the Shade Room, and she revealed that she had 13 surgeries in 1 year, all behind what she was trying to do. She said, "You did all of this and almost lost your life over a butt." She said that her, the health issues that were caused by the silicone traveling and moving, she hopes that her experiences have at least served as a cautionary tale for other women and has served as inspiration or hope for them that if they're going through it, they will go and take the steps to get their health taken care of and get it removed. Or if they're thinking about getting plastic surgery, that they just love themselves first. She said that it was all about the music industry. She did not have any self-esteem issues before she decided that she wanted to be a professional singer. She said she was fine with her small teeth and her smaller breasts, but that being surrounded by women who had augmented their body and done all of these things took a toll on her self-confidence. She said, "I did it because I saw other people in the industry and I thought that that was the way that I needed to be." She also said that, "I didn't know certain things were needed and weren't needed and expected until I got to the industry. And then I got locked into, I got to do this. That was the worst thing ever." And she said she felt like asking herself, are you healed or are you just numb? So shout out to K. Michelle for, being transparent with all of this. Get my body done is very much a thing. And so we just hope that people are really talking with their doctors and discussing these things before they take those chances. When we come forward, we'll have more trending topics and headlines across entertainment, sports, lifestyle, and culture. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Doug Davis, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. More than half of Americans believe President Biden's policies are making the economy worse. A new CNN poll finds 58% of those surveyed said Biden's policies have worsened economic conditions in the U.S. That's compared to 24% who said his policies are improving the economy, and 18% said his policies had no effect. Suspected Chinese operatives are using AI-generated images to pose as American voters online and spread disinformation. That's according to Microsoft analysts. Microsoft says operatives posted images using artificial intelligence designed to provoke, including images of the Statue of Liberty holding a gun or Black Lives Matter graphics. On this day in world history in 1986, Bishop Desmond Tutu became the first black archbishop of Cape Town, South Africa. And that is the latest. I'm Doug Davis from the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Score big on sleep and savings during Mattress Firm's best sale of the year. Save up to $700 on select Tempur-Pedic adjustable beds and get a $300 instant gift, good towards pillows and more.
Gotta stay fresh, ma. House shot with a rest bar. Shot with a rest bar. Shot with a rest bar.
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
The bounce is back.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Tired of being locked out of job opportunities and shut down by systemic racism? KBLA stands with you in fighting for the rights of black workers, and we don't black down. The Los Angeles Black Workers Center is a dynamic alliance of workers, organized labor, community-based organizations, clergy, students, and scholars, working collectively to improve the position of the black working class. The LA Black Workers Center takes a comprehensive approach to addressing the black jobs crisis. Their programs promote access to quality jobs, racial equity in hiring and retention, discrimination-free job sites, and they prepare black workers for employment in high-wage, career-track jobs. The Black Workers Center supports workers who need help protecting their rights on the job. They give workers access to quality jobs and remove systemic barriers to employment. To sign up for free career readiness training, get involved in organizing around anti-discrimination, learn about union apprenticeship programs, or sign on to a trade registry, please visit www.lablackworkerscenter.org. That's lablackworkerscenter.org. Together, we can beat the black jobs crisis. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Ew, gotta get rid of this old Backstreet Boys t-shirt.
Tell me why.
Because it stinks, boys.
Tell me why.
I've washed it so many times, but the odor won't come out.
Tell me why.
No, you tell me why I can't get rid of this odor.
Have you tried new Downy Rinse and Refresh? It doesn't just cover up odors, it helps remove them.
Wow, it worked, guys.
Yeah.
Downy Rinse and Refresh removes more odor in one wash than the leading value detergent in 3 washes. Find it wherever you buy laundry products.
KBLA Talk 1580 stands for Unity and Healing. African Focus Incorporated is a nonprofit organization based in California that focuses on the growth and well-being of Africans all around the world. Their mission is to promote the well-being of people of African descent through knowledge and appreciation of one another by building a bridge of love and understanding. African Focus Incorporated strives for cultural, educational, and economic growth. They're the organization behind the African Family Induction Ceremony, African Goodwill Awards, African Focus Trailblazer Tours, African Dance Competition, and Showcase Los Angeles, Family Day, Good News Windows Microfinance Project, and more. To volunteer, travel with African Focus, or to attend one of their community building events, please call 310-676-7730. That's 310-676-7300. Or visit AfricanFocus.org. This is a diaspora-wide community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
1 in 4 Americans today are living with a disability. I'm one of them. People with disabilities are extremely talented, resilient problem solvers that have so much to offer. And we've got a trusted ally on our side, an organization we can rely on, Easter Seals. Easter Seals is leading the way to full equity, inclusion, and access to healthcare, employment, and education for people with disabilities, families, and communities. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours.
Learn more and get involved at easterseals.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action is the youth component of the impactful CBO, known as the Community Coalition. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action has chapters at almost every South LA high school. Say Yeah, as they are popularly known, is located at 80th and Vermont, but serves young people all over South LA. Under the COCO umbrella, they train youth organizers, help underserved scholars prepare for college, and work with students to help them gain admission to top universities. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action fosters teen activism, where young people have led campaigns moving tens of millions of dollars to South LA schools and forcing officials to make AP classes available to students in under-resourced institutions. SCES scholars have taken part in the March on Washington, been published in major news outlets, and been elected to city council. Long before she was mayor, Karen Bass started the program when she founded the Community Coalition. To donate, volunteer, or enroll a student in South Central Youth Empowered Through Action, please visit cocsouthla.org. cocsouthla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
MOB, man, drop that shit. You know what time it is. Yeah. Hey, yo, throw your fingers up. Tell me, baby, are you lonely? Don't wanna rush out, can help you if you're only. Let me touch you if I'm wrong, love, tell me. Cause I get caught up in the life I live as hell. See, I never thought I'd see the day when I would calm down. You ain't heard, I've been on the clown and get around.
Shout out to Tupac. Always. You know, this is the time of year when we always get a little misty and sad, but we're going to celebrate his life and not focus on the date of his demise. Anyway, that's a great song. I feel like it's one of those overlooked songs. That second Pac album, people don't really talk about it that well. I guess they do. But, you know, I feel like people mostly talk about All Eyes. That was the third one? Okay. Oh, that's right, because the first one that had Holla If You Hear Me, that's the one nobody talked about.
Yeah, strictly
then the
for my
second
M's.
one is strictly, yeah. What was the second? Strictly for My N-Words is first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then second was...
Why am I drawing a blank?
Because this one is the one that was the grayish, black and white, like sepia tone cover.
My bad. First one is Tupacalypse Now.
Tupacalypse Now.
Second one was
Strictly for My
Ends.
That's the one that had I Get Around
Yep.
and Keep Your Head Up.
And the one with Temptation, that's Me Against the World.
Me Against the World. That's number 3.
This is the album.
He was in jail.
He was in jail before he went to jail.
I feel like he was about to go to jail. He was
Okay.
in jail when it was released, but he had done some videos for it. Because remember, the Temptations video, he's not in it. But
Right.
that was star-studded. That's the one where Coolio works at the hotel. Ice-T was at the front desk, and Jada Pinkett was in it. Isaac Hayes, Tretch, Peppa, no, maybe not Peppa, maybe it was Salt and Spinderella. Anyway, it was a lot of the, popular artists. Jasmine Guy, I believe, was in it too. So, yeah.
It's one of my favorite Pac albums, though. Me Against the World.
It
I
is.
mean, it's...
So many tears. I mentioned Temptation. See, I feel like the list that I gave to Jeff Pearlman when he was on was wrong. Like, it really wasn't my list because I was mixing so many things
Of
up.
your favorite
Of
Tupac
my
songs?
favorites. Like I
Okay.
said, Temptations, and it is like it's up there, but I really meant So Many Tears. I said Brenda's Got a Baby, which is a fave kinda, but it's really Keep Your Head Up. And then I Get Around is just because I get around. That's just what it is.
Because she was in the video. Yeah.
Yeah, that. But, I think it also changes because it depends on the day and depends on what type of Pac mood I'm in. One thing I will say, and this is probably like anti-Californian almost to say this, don't play California Love anytime, anymore. Tired of it. Don't want to hear it. Nope.
Well, if that's the case, stop playing Ain't No Fun.
Nope, that's different. That's different.
How's that
California Love, I just do. Ain't No Fun is. I don't know. I feel like anytime, anything, any program, any sporting event, if they're coming to LA, they're gonna play California Love over the music bed. I'm just burnt out on it. I think that there are better Pac songs.
Did Dr. Dre and them perform that song, California Love,
At the Super Bowl?
At the Super Bowl?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Got your wish.
Yeah. So sad. That's another story. We'll talk about that some other time. At any rate, we talked about Coco Gauff. So let's talk about Naomi Osaka. Now, Naomi was the former #1 world-ranked tennis player. And she stepped away from the game. She had a baby last September. This past July, her daughter Shai was born. And she's taken a year off. Was spotted at the U.S. Open this week, and she spoke on a panel about mental health awareness. It also included retired Olympic swimmer Michael Phelps. And following that panel, she talked with ESPN, and she shared that she's been feeling lonely lately and during her pregnancy. And she mentioned that she is returning to competitive tennis at the Australian Open in January when tennis season picks back up. The U.S. Open is generally considered the last match of the season, and then it picks back up in January with the Australian Open. And she won there twice. Once in 2019 and again in 2021. So she said, I realized I don't know how the beginning of the year is going to go for me. I don't know the level of play, and I think I have to ease into it. At the very least, I'm going to set myself up for a very good end of the year. So we hope that Naomi feels at peace. We know that she has spoken about anxiety and different issues. She's now a mommy, and so I hope that she gets her mojo back and hits the court. Like we just experienced with the U.S. Open, we had 4 black players in the semifinals, and now it looks like we're going to have at least 2 in the finals. 1 on the men's side, 1 on the women's side. Well, we'll see what happens with Ben. But, I'm speaking it into existence. We know we got Coco, so I'm looking forward to that. Okay. AI. AI is a big subject for all of us, right? Artificial intelligence. Have you played around with any of the chat GPTs, Perplexities, Baird, any of the different software mechanisms that are out there that you can utilize to get into chat GPT? So you may have heard like early on when everyone was diving headfirst in this and talking about it, and there were all of these AI generated songs that were coming out that there was a song that featured the Drake and the Weeknd, but it wasn't really Drake and the Weeknd. And it got some burn. And it was played in a lot of places. Of course, it has since been taken down. It was on YouTube and a couple of other things because there was an injunction filed. So essentially, it's the very thing that the writers and the actors and actresses are striking about, the future of AI. And it's tapping into music. And I actually think in some ways, music artists need to be just as concerned as the actors and actresses are. Actors and actresses are. Or do we just say actors now? I think we just call them both actors. I don't think we designate and use the actresses thing anymore. I think that is like old language and we aren't there anymore. But anyway, so it was recently announced by Harvey. What is Harvey's last name? I just blanked on his name. Harvey Mason Jr. He is the CEO of the Recording Academy. They are the body responsible for the Grammys. That it is possible for an AI created song to be nominated for a Grammy. Of course, there are certain parameters that a song has to meet, which I guess they term it creatively eligible. But because the song is written by a human, it could conceivably be in contention for a Grammy Award. So some of the things that have to happen with it is it has to have general distribution. That means that not only can it be available digitally, it's a night. I'm having a night. That it also has to be available in brick and mortar stores. I feel like that's a hard thing to put on a piece of, not that I want AI stuff necessarily to be out there and to be able to receive Grammys, because that's tricky. How is Drake and The Weeknd not even involved in a song, but a song utilizing their inflections and vocal styles could potentially be entered in for one of the top awards as it relates to music, and they haven't received a dime? That doesn't seem fair. But it also is kind of curious because the average single now, we know that most album sales, and when I say album, I'm talking about a packaging from an artist, are through streaming and not physical copies. I mean, I don't even really know where you go, like where you could physically walk into a store and buy a CD these days. I mean, I guess maybe Target or Best Buy, but real rap, how often am I going in there? Target lost me during the pandemic, which is a shame. It used to be my favorite place, but I don't mess with it.
And I was a strong CD collector. Like, I enjoyed collecting the CDs, looking through the books or whatnot. But once the streaming thing popped up, $10 an hour, now it's probably like $18.99 and some change. But I mean, to have access to all music, you can't beat that. I'm sorry.
I mean, you really can't. It's like, but one of the things, like for me, I remember when iTunes first came out, and I'm like you, I had crazy CD collection tapes. I was the type of person, one, because I used to work in the music industry, and two, I'm really passionate about music. I would replace and replenish my things. So when we went from vinyl to cassettes, I replaced most of my favorite albums with cassettes. When we went from cassettes to CDs, I replaced most of my favorites with CDs. So when it came to the whole thing of uploading all of my music to iTunes, which is now Apple Music, I sat at my little computer one by one and uploaded all of my CDs. And I even threw away some of the actual CDs because I was like, what do I need these for? I got them all here. And then, what happened? My computer died. And you know what happened after that? I got a new computer. And you know what happened after that? Even though I had backed up my library, you don't necessarily always have enough space for that on your laptop or your computer or whatever. And Apple tells me all the time now that I can't access music that I bought with my own money and use my own little hands to upload because it's not authorized for this computer. I can't get the authorization for the computer because it is with an email address that I no longer have. And even if I could figure out what the email address was, well, I know what it was, but like it was an email address, when you get cable and they give you an email address with it. Well, guess what? The cable company doesn't exist anymore because it merged with another cable company. So I have no way to get access to that. And they're just like, yeah, your music, sorry, we got some of this here. And some of that stuff, they are like, it was mixes or versions that are not readily available on streaming. And then I don't know, like, there are things like, and this is really random, I don't know why I'm going off on this tangent, but I feel like it. For example, with Beyonce's Renaissance album, remember there was that whole thing about the interlope from Milkshake with Khalees, and Khalees was mad because she felt like she should have been asked and all of that whole process. And so Beyonce reissued the stream and took that little part out and moved it around. So you got to think, if you get a CD version, you get the original copy. There is no more of that out there. Even if you have it in your laptop, in your Apple Music library, they could switch it out on you. So I have a problem with that. And then there's certain catalogs that people will remove or taken offline. This is another random thing. There's this group from back in the 80s called the SOS Band, and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis used to do a lot of production on them. And I really like 80s Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis music. Like, it does something to me. Makes me feel happy. But for whatever reason, the SOS Band's entire catalog has been removed from Apple Music. I haven't remembered to check Spotify, but it's gone. And I don't know what happened. Same thing happened a couple of months back when Snoop Dogg bought Death Row because they had to change over some of the titlings and things like that as far as ownership rights. All of the Death Row catalog was taken off of Apple Music for a while. It's since been added back, but I don't know if this is the same. And again, it doesn't necessarily matter, but for some of those things, I would like the OG version. And then there's certain stuff like you can't even find on Apple Music. It's just for whatever reason not there. So all of that to say that my Apple Music library was very important to me, that I cultivated with my own little hands, and they took it from me. They robbed it. But that's one of the things that I have with streaming, because they can just move you around and you can try and replace those cuts. But then I don't know anyone that's ever dropped their subscription, but all of that music goes away. And I suppose you could just sign up someplace else and get it back, but all of your playlist and hard work, streaming is a complicated thing. But who has the space to store all those CDs and I have a nice little vinyl collection that I'm rebuilding back up, but sometimes I look at it and I think about, we're going to have to probably limit this to about maybe 30 albums, and that's it, because otherwise it's going to start taking over. At any rate, you are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Is it time for a break? It is time for a break. When we come forward, we will have more trending topics and headlines. Maybe I'll get into this story about the Real Housewives of New York and what their net worth is, because, you know, people always want to know that when they're new cast members. And, of course, more trending topics and headlines. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
When you're young, life is full of choices. Don't let opioids like highly addictive and deadly fentanyl take away your life with just one wrong pill. Addiction is a disease that can affect anyone at any age. But there is a choice to get help for this disease. Find medically proven treatment options, including virtual, at choosemat.org.
The Los Angeles Urban League helps African American and others in underserved communities achieve true social parity, economic self-reliance, and civil rights. For over 100 years, Los Angeles Urban League has ensured our communities have access to careers with living wages, opportunities to start and grow businesses, and clear pathways to personal and professional growth. Programs like BizCamp, Construction Career Academy, Bob Business Ready, and B-Warp. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Program are examples of the ongoing events designed to make our centennial mission to rebuild Black Wall Street right here in LA a reality. To sign up for our newsletter or to support the Los Angeles Urban League with your time, talent, and donations, visit laul.org. That's laul.org. The Los Angeles Urban League is a proud sponsor of Urban Family Focus, Saturdays at 7 a.m. on KBLA Talk 1580.
1 in 4 Americans today are living with a disability. I'm one of them. People with disabilities are extremely talented, resilient problem solvers that have so much to offer. And we've got a trusted ally on our side, an organization we can rely on, Easter Seals. Easter Seals is leading the way to full equity, inclusion, and access to healthcare, employment, and education for people with disabilities, families, and communities. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours.
Learn more and get involved at easterseals.com.
Meet Joe A,
Hi.
Joe B,
Hello.
and Joe C.
What's up?
3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with AutoSave. And Joe C's Chase banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect, support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase. Make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
And when I left the oven on, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan.
Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
Hey, it's Jill Munroe. You are locked in VIPs to RSVP with Jill Munroe. And Urban Spinster says, have you talked about She by Sheree's fashion show director speaking out? Tyree Lejeune said he was only reimbursed what he spent but wasn't paid for his labor or acknowledged. Well, honestly, that seems to be a reoccurring theme when you talk about sometimes the reality shows and these businesses that they put together. We know that there are some cases where these aren't real businesses. They are put together to have a storyline. Sometimes things are miscommunicated and maybe there was an intent to pay and it just didn't happen. Sheree is Sheree. And listen, she got a peach for now. And we'll see what happens next season and if that gets resolved. Maybe it'll be a storyline or a plot point moving forward. You never know. They got to keep it spicy. But, the rumors are that they are going to recast the whole thing and save some money. We'll have to see, like they did with The Real Housewives of New York. Really quickly, I want to mention, it's New Release Friday. And Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion have dropped the visuals for their new song, Bongos. And I haven't heard it yet because obviously I'm on air here. But I have seen some of the visuals. And what I can tell you is visually, it's top tier. It's vibrant. They both look amazing. The wigs are flowing. I see some product placement in there. So, of course, that means they made some coins before they even got the single out there. It is a good thing, so make sure you check it out and support the hottie and Barty Gang. It's Megan's first release since everything that has happened with the trial and Tory being sentenced. So, we got to make sure that we keep her uplifted. Urban Spinster says, Sheree doesn't pay her bills. Nothing new there. And that is my understanding, and so that's why we haven't talked about it because, that is on the show, perhaps as a storyline, because you got to be clear. You got to specify that seems to be a reoccurring theme, But I am of the opinion that sometimes people do things to give themselves something to talk about or to have something interesting happen on reality TV. Because let's face it, sometimes the day-to-day life is just regular. And you're not always going to have a fire storyline to bring it in. But we will see what happens with that. One more thing on the AI recorded songs and so forth. Do you consider, and I'm just throwing this out there, since there are, I suppose their names are on it, but since there are so many tracks that have ghostwriters on them, and technically their names are sometimes in the credits, sometimes not, is that like the pre-version of AI? Is that not kind of the same thing? Sorry, just a little joke. Just putting it out there, thinking about it, because the things that we consider authentic and organic, especially when you're talking about hip-hop and what qualifies as real, what is a real MC, what is a real artist, that has changed, that has evolved over the years. There was at one time where we thought everybody was really living the life that they lived in their rhymes. There was one time that we thought that everybody really wrote their own rhymes, even some of the greats. And, it was pretty disappointing when we found out that wasn't the case. When we come forward, we will have more trending topics and headlines. Of course, we're going to get into this Blueface and Krishan Rock situation, a little bit of what has transpired most recently. Of course, we have an interview with Sally Richardson Whitfield coming up, the director and executive producer of Winning Time on HBO. And we're going to talk a little bit about some new laws that could be enacted regarding things like Starbucks. All of that and more. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Hour 3 is up next. News and sports. That's what's waiting for you on the other side.
A lot of people think it's easy to settle down. Got a woman that'll please me. And every town I don't want them, but I gotta do it. The temptation got me ready to release the gun. Sensation, sit down and conversate like you know me. Take my hand, cause even thugs get lonely. Understand?
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Doug Davis, and here's the latest